Hi, Wes Lee with the weekly Mesonet Weather Report. It was a great week of weather for those needing to dry out a little this week. The average air temperature finally moved back above the long-term average for the state on February 28th and has mostly stayed that way since. You can see the long-term average temperature shown here by the blue fill and the daily statewide average air temperature with the dark line. Relative humidity has also been relatively low as shown here on this U.S. map from Wednesday afternoon. Most of Oklahoma was in the 20s and 30s. This, along with some bright sunshine and breezy conditions, allowed for the waterlogged soils over much of the state to start the drying process. This map shows one-day average percent plant available water at the 4-inch depth under sod. While the eastern third of the state is still at or near 100%, most of the western two-thirds shows numbers that are starting to allow normal farming activities. Top dressing wheat and farm tillage operations are starting to happen to prepare for the upcoming spring planting season. Short-term forecasts indicate we should continue this drying trend. While it will be appreciated by most, we need to be hopeful that rainfall intervals do not get too far stretched out. Now here's Gary with a look at a warm forecast for next week.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. Well, we're now into climatological spring, which runs from March through May. We're out of winter. It's been a very warm winter. We haven't gotten enough precipitation across western Oklahoma, so we are sort of teetering on the edge of starting to see that drought expand across parts of the southwest as we go up into the northwest. Let's take a look at the latest data, see what we have. We have that area of drought up in the far western panhandle. That's moderate to severe drought, a little bit of abnormally dry conditions surrounding it. And then we have that area, very persistent area that's been there since last summer, down in the far southwest of moderate drought, and then the abnormally dry conditions, which actually expanded a little bit to the east this week, farther into Grady County and Comanche County. Again, those are areas we're watching for drought development. As we get into southeast Oklahoma, they've had some pretty good rains up into the northeast. They can withstand a little bit of dryness. As we get into southwest Oklahoma, we see less than an inch of rain for the last 30 days, but that does expand all across the western half of the state. What's the percent of rainfall we received? Because compared to normal, well, we can see right down there in Comanche and Caddo counties, less than 40% of rainfall as we get close to Medicine Park, the Mesonet site there. But all across western Oklahoma up into the central parts of the state, that dryness is expanding in those areas. And it's not just the fact that we have a little bit of rain here and there, we don't have any significant rains on any given day. So if we look at the consecutive days with less than a quarter inch of rainfall, this is from the Oklahoma Mesonet as well, we see we're now up to close to 20 days, and in the far southwest we're getting up close to 50 days. So we get a little bit of small rainfalls here and there that make up those totals, but we don't get any significant rainfalls that really get to soak in. If we look at the outlook for next week, we see greatly increased odds of above normal temperatures. So that's going to put pressure on that moisture, any moisture on the surface or in the top layers of that soil, or we are going to have a little bit of problem across western Oklahoma, at least in the near future. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.